This video is all about product design and how that fits within an overall product development journey. Make sure you keep watching to the end, where I share my 3 tips after 20 years of experience of how to keep the product design process efficient and effective. So let's get stuck in. This is a diagram of the entire product development journey. As you can see, product design happens once your feasibility work's been done and you have a clear project brief. And then once it's complete, you go into prototyping. Now in prototyping, it's much harder and more expensive to make changes to the design. So the product design part is absolutely critical to make sure that you thrash out all the details and you get the right result before you go into those more expensive prototypes. What happens in the product design stage? Well, really, it's about considering the user and the user experience, ergonomics, all of those kind of elements to design the right product. It's also critical that you understand your target market, and hopefully the work done in the previous stage in feasibility will help with this, because you want to make sure you're designing something that your target market is going to love and then part with our hard-earned money to buy. If you've got an electronic product, then this stage is going to need to be done alongside an electronics designer or electronics engineer, so that as the PCB is developed and particular components around that, they can be fit within the casing that your product designer will be creating. If you've got something that's quite mechanical, maybe it's got a folding mechanism or it has to do something functional, then this stage it's critical to fully consider and work out how that's going to work, and then what the impacts are on the overall design of your concept. It might be that aesthetics are the most important thing, and so most of this product design process will be focused on things like materials and textures and finishes, and your overall look, colour schemes, all those kind of elements can be drawn in as well. And the idea really is to get to the end of this stage with a firm concept that can then be taken into prototyping. If you've got a hard goods product, that will mean you need a computer-aided design virtual model that can then be used to make the prototype components. If it's a soft goods product, then you're going to need some detailed, probably digitally enhanced drawings that can express the concept to a point where you can review and sign off on that before the prototypes are then made. Now, it's a really exciting part of the journey. It's best to try and enjoy it as best you can, but there are also 3 things that you ought to be really conscious of to ensure that you get the right result. And they are: keep it simple, sweat the details, and design for longevity. So in terms of simplicity, the reason I say that is it's very easy to get carried away in the product design process and try and make your product do everything or be everything for anyone and everyone. And instead, it is better really to focus on what is the key unique selling point of your product and really getting that right. Overcomplicating the product at this stage will result in high development costs, a long development timeline, and may even get to a point where the unit cost of your final product is too expensive for your target market. Sweating the details is critical, because those details as a sum of a whole are going to make up how your product looks and feels, how it fits within your overall brand value, and what it looks like and feels like to your end customer. So it's really important to get as much of that right at this stage as possible. And as I say, it takes a lot longer and it's more expensive to make changes once you're into prototyping, so it's better to get all those bits right now. Designing for longevity is important, because sometimes it can get easy to design for a particular fad or fashion as it is now, but then your product looks out of date very quickly. It's better to try and design something that has a classic look to it that will last a lot longer and be appealing for a lot longer, because then you can sell that product for a longer time frame before you need to redesign and change things again. So they are my top tips for keeping this process really effective and getting the right result out at the end. Now, the next stage of this process is prototyping. That is probably the more expensive and more time-consuming part of the process. So do make sure you watch my next video on that straight away.